Welcome, one and all, to the podcast Mirror Within. I'm your host, Victor Maledzenge. And today I have a dear friend of mine, an inspiration, a powerful force in change, John H. I worked with John at the Berkeley Drop In Center, and we shared an office. And this man transformed my life. And I kid you not, he's the one who helped me stop smoking. He's the one who showed me how to relate to people coming from all walks of life. And I owe much of my work today that I do with the unhoused population to how I watched John do the work. So John, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you, Victor. Nice seeing you again, my brother.
Nice to see you too, man. Yeah. All right, so I want to jump right in. I want to just get to the core of it right away. Tell us a bit about yourself, your life journey, the challenges you met along the way, and the successes, but mostly those challenges that shaped you into who you are.
Well, I was born in Oakland. Actually, I take it back. I was born in Berkeley at Herrick Hospital over there on the White Way, and grew up in East Oakland, and went to Castlemont High School and Elmhurst Junior High. But anyway, my journey, be honest with you, started like in 85 when I started smoking crack. But before that, way back in the 70s and 60s, I was smoking weed, doing all that other stuff, having fun, going to house parties. But the short version is doing drugs, especially crack cocaine, got me in trouble with the police, the law, judge, Santa Rita County Jail, and all that stuff. And again, the short version is, one day my mom called the police on me because she didn't like my girlfriend because we were both using, and the Oakland Police Department knocked on my door.
Wow.
Knocked on my bedroom door because I was in the room with my girlfriend, and got up, got dressed, and I went to Santa Rita. I don't know where she went, but I went to Santa Rita.
Wow, man.
But that, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that phone call from my mom started my journey on recovery. Believe it or not.
Wow. Wow.
Go ahead.
I can just imagine a mother having to call the police on her son. Wow.
Yeah, so excluding all that, I went to Santa Rita for 6 days. I got out, snuck back in my mama's house, and she came home. She knew I was in the house. I had been using, but I was just smoking weed, and she called me out the closet. I hid in the closet, Victor. For some reason, and even before she died, I kept asking her how did she know I was in that closet, and she would never tell me how she knew. But after all of that, I asked her not to call the police on me again. So we just had a talk, and then she called my brother Walter, who was in recovery, and he came over, and we all talked, and I had like a little intervention, and I started crying because I was, we in recovery had what we say rock bottom. That was my rock bottom, and my mother said something to me 27 years later that still rings in my head, that she didn't know who I was. She wished she had her son back, and that's when I really started crying. But anyway, she let me stay if I promised to go to Newbridge, which I did. I called Newbridge, went through that program. It's a shock treatment program with screaming and hollering every day. And I stayed there for 4 years. It was 4 years of pure hell, ladies and gentlemen, but I stayed. I didn't give up on myself. And I went to Newbridge July 24th, 1995, and I graduated from Newbridge February 19th, 1999.
Wow.
All right? And that's with a year aftercare.
Wow.
But it paid off. I didn't give up on myself. And reason I mentioned that that saying that my mother told me that she didn't know who I was anymore. When I was on stage at my graduation at Newbridge in a 500 audience auditorium, I stood my mom up, and this is the last things I said to her. I said, "Mom," this is when I hold my diploma. I said, "Mom, you got your son back."
Oh.
Okay?
Whoa.
I said, "Mom, you got your son back." And everybody started clapping and everything. So I've been clean for 27 years. After I graduated from Newbridge, I still was homeless. I still was offered drugs. I still was this. I slept in shelters. I slept in transitional houses, but I never gave up. You know, and my goal was to get my own place. And after about 2 years of going from shelter to shelter and transitional house to transitional house, I got into this transitional house that was by Newbridge. I just ran into it. It was on 9th Street, right here in Berkeley. And I knew like 3 of the people that were in there. So they voted me in. You had to get voted in, but they already knew me. So that was cool. So I stayed there, saved up my money because I was on SSI because of illness on my throat. And I saved up like almost $3,000. And here's where the hard work come in of not using and having your higher power guide you through. I mean, like, you know how you look out in the desert and you look at all 4 corners and you don't see nothing but sand and little sand dunes? That's how I was. And so when I went into the office of my social worker, Sharice Green, on 34th and San Pablo, I told her that I'm ready to take that next step. I'm ready to get my apartment, you know. And it just so happens that her coworker, Jackie, now I'm going to be mentioning names because these are the people who helped me with my journey. And I always tell my clients that the people that you don't know are the people that's going to help you, right? So I didn't know this lady, Jackie, you know, so I'm walking out the door and she called, "Mr. Holloway, come back." So I come back, I sit down, and I said, "Yes." She introduces herself, we introduce each other, and she says, "I just heard you talking to Miss Green that you're ready to take that next move." I said, "Yeah." She says, "You having money saved up?" I said, "Yeah." So she goes in her drawer, she pulls out some paper and puts it on the desk. And I asked Jackie, "What is this?" And she says, "It's a Shelter Plus Care voucher." And I said, "What's that?" She just said, "Mr. Holloway, you have 180 days to find your apartment." I said, "You're kidding." She said, "No. I heard what you said. You seem like a great guy, and you ready to do that. And I know you're in recovery. So recovery has to do with everything, and putting your best foot forward, and believing in yourself, and believing in what you're doing is going to help you along the way." So I found my apartment in 3 weeks.
Wow.
1829 Myrtle Street, apartment 6 in West Oakland. You know, I didn't care. So I met Miss Parker, who was the landlord. Nice older lady, but she was cool. And she wasn't going to let me in the apartment because I was a bachelor. And she didn't want to rent to single men, you know. And I said, "Excuse me, my mom didn't raise me like that. I am not a slob, you know." So I asked her, I said, "Give me the apartment. You come by and check anytime you want, peek your head through the window. You can even walk through the apartment." She did that for like maybe a month. Then after that, it was over. She seen I wasn't a slob. Wow. But in between time of graduating, I went back to school. I went back to college. And ladies and gentlemen, this is after using drugs from 1970 to 1995. Wow. That's about what, gosh, 29 years of using drugs, weed, acid, mushrooms, LSD, microdot. I mean, just drugs. I was into it, man. Wow. I go back to school in 1998 after I find my apartment. I take Dr. Love's class of substance abuse and community service. I graduated from Merritt College in 2000. My mother was there to watch me walk across the stage. She was so happy. And I ended up getting my first counseling job at Cronin House. I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I went to Thunder Road working with teenagers. That was cool, working with the kids. That was hella cool, but it's sad to see that kids as young as 12 and 11-year-old are alcoholics now, man. Okay? It's bad out there, folks. It's, keep an eye on your daughter or your son. Keep an eye on them. If you have to sneak through their room and look for stuff, do it. Might save their life. I can go on with stories that'll tell you that people have kids have drank themselves to death, shot themselves to death with heroin using a needle, and OD. Okay, so check your kids' room. They might not like it. Like I said, do it anyway. You might save their life. So,
wow, John. I just want to intervene. By the way, powerful story. Just powerful story. And part of the reason why I wanted John on the Mirror Within podcast is because finding that inner strength, more like you said, you felt like in a desert. You look either direction and you just see sand. There's nothing. So you've got nothing to rely on but yourself.
That's it.
And your higher power.
That's it.
That's incredible. I'd like to dig more into that later. But could you tell us what Bridgeport is, for those who don't know? What is it actually?
Bridgeport. It's for me. It's like, I'm taking in everything. Relying on yourself and never giving up hope.
No, I mean the program Bridgeport.
Oh, you mean Newbridge?
Newbridge. Sorry, Newbridge. Yeah.
You said you want to know what's that like?
Yeah. No. And what is it? And what is like? What is it like?
Newbridge is a drug rehab in Berkeley. A little history. It was owned by Patty Hearst's daddy.
Huh.
It's the mansion, the Patty Hearst mansion, the Hearst mansion. 1809 Euclid. No, Scenic. 1809 Scenic Avenue up there in the Berkeley Hills almost. It's a place, like I said, shock treatment. You get screamed and hollered at. If you do something wrong, you get depending on what the severity of it is, you might get like 2,000 sentences. Or you might get like 3,000 word essays on why A, B, and C.
Wow.
They had a thing what they called a bench, where if you do something like really wrong, because we had like 5 cardinal rules. I can't remember them all. But if you break one of them, you get put on the bench. And you can sit on the bench for like 9 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. And any counselor can come by and say, John H., I want you to go mop the floor. John H., I want you to go clean out that garbage can.
Wow.
John H., I want you to clean every window at Newbridge, which I've done, okay? Every window at both mansions, inside and out, I had to do.
Wow. You were there for 4 years.
4 years, man. I did what I had to do, man. 4 years, man. That, we had things that we call like restriction, where you had to start in the dark and go to the light. And you had to come to the light with a real story, or the counselor would send you back to the dark room. I got through on my second try of being real, because they want you to be real then. And the one thing that I learned at Newbridge, that she wasn't my counselor, her name was Brianna, and I said, why do y'all treat us like this? Why do y'all holler at us every day? And she said 2 things. She said, John, this is to prepare you for the outside, and 2, there's a method to our madness. So I didn't question her knowledge. I didn't. But so when I graduated from Newbridge, like I said, when I became homeless again, everything I went through and everything my counselors told me happened on the outside. I was prepared. I was prepared for people offering me weed. I was prepared for people who wanted to, fight and this and that. I was prepared for the haters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was prepared for all of that. I had, like I said, I had one goal in mind, and that was to find my apartment, and Newbridge prepared me for that.
Wow. Uh-huh.
That's what it is. It was. I can tell you when I first got there off the street, when I first my first day there, and you get sit on a bench, they would take a picture of you before.
So when you arrive, they take
You arrive, they one of the first after they finish searching all your clothes and everything, your bags, they take a picture of you and put it in your case file, right? And so they did that, and I'm looking at, I'm sitting on the bench looking at everybody going back and forth, and we had like a lunchroom, and they had two mirrors on that side. They had a mirror over by the couch where I was. They had. And behind me, where I was sitting on the bench, this great big gigantic mirror. That's when, for the whole house get in trouble, everybody stands from the littlest to the tallest, all the way to the back of the room in the lunchroom. And I'm just saying, what the heck did I get myself into? That was my first day, and I call Newbridge, a love-hate relationship. I hated being there, but I love the results.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I went to that place, because I would not be where I am today without going through hell. That prepared me for life where I am today in the year 2023.
Wow, John, that's totally amazing. I'll say this: when I worked with you at the Berkeley Drop-In Center, there was one fact about you that blew me away, and I never spoke to you about it, because this fact was so true and real in my life, but it was the opposite. You said to me, I'm organized. I know what I'm going to be wearing throughout this week. And I was